At number 10 is Seo-yeon Lee. Seo-yeon, who was student studying abroad, came back to South Korea, and her mother made a strange proposition. She said she had uterine cancer, but would only get treatment if her daughter went with her to the Grace Road Church, so she agreed. The leader of the Grace Road Church, Shin-ok-ju, believed her followers were in grave danger of a famine in Korea, and must move to Fiji. Funny enough, it was the members that had donated the largest amounts of money that were invited, and Seo-yeon's mother had donated her deceased husband's fortune. Seo-yeon's mother persuaded her once again to come back to Korea when she left for school abroad. She insisted her presence in Korea with her would let her get the cancer treatment. Once Seo-yeon returned to South Korea, her mother went through treatment, but then declared that they must go to Fiji to recover for 14 days. When they arrived in Fiji, they were picked up by people Seo-yeon did not know, and fear gripped her. Her only hope was the fact that they had plane tickets back to South Korea in 14 days. After 13 days at the Grace Road Church compound, Seo-yeon started her preparations to leave, and realized that her mother had stolen her laptop and passport. Seo-yeon knew at that moment that she would be trapped and may even become brainwashed like her mother forever if she did not leave. She took a chance and ran from the compound, her mother screaming and the other cult followers trying to block her. Seo-yeon managed to reach the police and obtain an emergency passport before they could catch her. Seo-yeon later found out she was adopted. She does not speak to her mother, and she has remained in Korea ever since. 9. Guinevere Turner. Guinevere was born into a cult called the Lyman family, founded by musician Melvin James Lyman. The blossoming cult, under the order of Lyman, developed strict rules on dress and sexual behavior, raised the kids to believe they were eventually going to live on Venus, and all financial resources were drained from the members. Guinevere recalls the years she spent in the cult in an isolating way. The cult members were told that the outside world was dangerous, children were homeschooled and punished severely. 11 years later, her mother, a cult member who was separated from her daughter at birth, came to get Guinevere out of the Lyman family. From the time she left, at 11, until the time she revisited the cult, at 18, Guinevere did not feel normal, and craved the life she had lived as a child. In between those times, Guinevere felt alienated, like she belonged with the family. It was not until she revisited the Lyman family that she realized the staunch sexism, bizarre rituals, and physical punishments that were practiced there were not okay. Guinevere packed her things and left without turning back. 8. Sarah Edmondson. Sarah Edmondson, a young actress, was searching for a purpose in her life when she boarded a cruise designed to explore spirituality. She did not know that it was a front for the infamous cult NXIVM, that it would dictate the next 12 years of her life. During her time in the cult, she attained a position that gave her immense wealth. The power she found herself in was exciting. When she was branded with the letters of the founding members of the cult, she decided she had had enough. Sarah went on to write a book, Scarred, but it is troubling. She lured many young women into the cult, but her book seems strangely void of guilt or remorse. Instead, her writing is self-indulgent and gossip-filled. Though she was certainly abused within the cult, she is not blameless for her own wrongdoings. Though this cult escape story does not seem to highlight a heroic escape, but a moment in time where someone had a ping of conscience, and potentially jumped on it for a strange sense of fame. 7. Verity Carter and Jonathan Watt. As opposed to Sarah Edmondson, Verity and Jonathan's escape story shows true courage and bravery. The sister-brother duo was born into a situation that must have felt like a living nightmare. As young children, both dealt with near-constant physical abuse, and Verity suffered routine sexual abuse. The cult made life feel meaningless, and made the children feel like they had absolutely no power in their lives. At the age of 14, Jonathan had a nervous breakdown, and the cult expelled him. For Verity, it took the courage of attacking a man who was going to administer corporal punishment on her. That was freedom from the cult for her. Both children suffered while adjusting to life outside of the cult. Jonathan even continued to follow the cult rules after leaving the cult because the transition to life outside was so difficult. Jonathan struggled with homelessness and Verity with drug and alcohol abuse. But eventually, both created their own lives and gained freedom from their oppressors. The pair exemplifies strength and resilience, not only in their escape and their ability to continue on, but also in the sharing of their experiences, which they do in order to help other survivors find their voices. 6. Briell Decker. Briell is a true hero who established a refuge at the cult headquarters after the cult leader was arrested. FLDS, a polygamous cult, was led by Warren Jeffs. During his reign, he forced approximately 80 women and children into marriages. Briell, who was born into the FLDS, knew from a young age that she would be forced to marry the middle-aged man. When she turned 18, she was yet to be the 65th wife of Briell, and prepared their wedding ceremony, and she had no choice but to go along with it. Around this time, the FBI charged Jeffs for forcing an underage girl into marriage, and later conducted a raid on the FLDS compound, where they discovered just how many children Jeffs had forced into marriage. Jeffs was, of course, charged in 5. Maude Julien. Maude Julien was born into a strange life. Her father, Louis Didier, had bought a child, Jeanine, and decided to make his dream come true. He forced Jeanine into marriage and had a baby with her, Maude, that he wanted to turn into a superhuman. From a young age, Maude was put into horrific conditions to survive concentration camps, torture, and interrogation. Maude's memoir, The Only Girl in the World, however, does not serve as a gruesome recounting of her suffering. Instead, she hopes it serves as a jailbreak handbook full of tips on how to engage in passive disobedience. Maude escaped when a music teacher told Louis that he should send his daughter away to a tough music school. He agreed, and Maude took the chance to leave. Her father died a few years later. 4. Anna LeBaron. Anna LeBaron's dad, LeBaron, was the leader of a cult that has been linked to over 20 murders. Anna grew up being taught that her father was the prophet of God, and the followers of Erva were celestial children. Anna details the distant relationship she had with her father, who had a total of 13 wives and 50 children. She and her siblings were made to feel isolated and attacked by the outside world, and were forced into 12-hour workdays. While in the cult, Anna had no idea that her father was wanted by the FBI due to murders he was connected to. Apparently, Erva ordered his followers to kill his enemies to allow them to enter heaven, and he created a master kill list of those who should be killed. Eventually, Erva was captured by the police, but the cult continued. Even the kill list was followed after Erva was arrested, and 13-year-old Anna decided it was time to escape. Some of her friends and family members were going to be targeted, and she feared for her life. One of her sisters helped her hide out in a motel, and she eventually went on to college and a normal life. She wrote the memoir, The Polygamist's Daughter, with hopes to help her family members heal. 3. Rebecca Stott. Author of In the Days of Rain. A daughter, a father, a cult. Rebecca opened about her upbringing. She and her families were members of a religious cult, the Exclusive Brethren. The Exclusive Brethren cult had rules enforced with intense interrogations about your sins, and that punishments would often include isolation that could go for weeks, or until the sinner killed themselves. By the time Rebecca was just 6, she had undergone at least 3,000 hours of forced Bible study. When the cult leader, Jim Taylor Jr., was found sleeping with a young, married member, the entire cult shattered. 8,000 members left the cult, including Rebecca's family. But that did not mean her hardships were over. The rules of her old life spun around Rebecca as she took more and more steps away from their hold. 2. Claire Ashman. Claire Ashman grew up in the very traditional Catholic society of St. Pius X. When she left her family and started life outside the strictly Latin faith, she was confused and unsure of herself. When she turned 15, a 27-year-old man, William Cam, aka the Little Pebble, began to show interest in her. Unfortunately, without healthy relationships for her to learn from, Claire accepted a marriage proposal from the man. Shortly after their marriage, her husband discovered the Order of St. Charbel, and Claire found herself smack in the middle of a doomsday cult. Claire was even more confused when she was selected as a princess of the church, and was destined to marry the cult leader. For 6 years, she was manipulated by the controlling hand of the church and her husband, until one day she got her hands on a book called The Beautiful Side of Evil, which first unveiled the term cult to Claire. She understood at once that she was in a cult, and began learning about how to open a bank account, how to sign a lease on an apartment, and how to be free. After strategically learning more about how to survive outside the cult, Claire escaped. She now hopes her retelling of her experiences can help other women find a better life. 1. Carli McConkey. Carli McConkey was at an Australian music festival where she came across a booth with the words Life Integration Programs, LIP. The attendants at the LIP booth were offering exactly what a recent college graduate might be interested in. The program promised to give its students direction and fulfillment, and the attendants at the booth even helped Carli register for a free 5-day seminar at a nearby university. Carli went to the seminar and found her days filled with mindfulness exercises and health food, which was very refreshing. She didn't hesitate to sign up for more programs after that. Eventually, Carli signed up for the advanced program called The Final Step, which did more to break people down than build them up. Carli recalls severe sleep deprivation at this camp, yelling, food deprivation, and chanting, yet felt as though she needed to continue the programs. She felt helpless without them and eventually paid over $70,000 to attend most of the training programs offered. Carli was kept so busy by the cult that she even lost connections with her family and borrowed money from them to pay the cult. Eventually, Carli left when she had been so physically and emotionally broken down by the cult that she couldn't take it anymore. She left, and only once she was out did she really realize that she had spent Hey guys, I hope you loved this video. Leave me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos like this. Unless next time, check out our favorite videos popping up on your screen right here, or up in our channel playlist.